A new warning not to squander the progress we've made as England prepares to ease lockdown. On the eve of the changes, ministers have cautioned that the pandemic still isn't over.
Thank goodness we can start to see the beginning of the end of this, but it is just the beginning.
A third COVID vaccine, the Moderna jab, is due to be used here from next month as the government insists the rollout remains on track. The UN demands international action to stop the killing of unarmed civilians by military forces in Myanmar.
Inside edge, I think.
And England's cricketers face a mammoth task as their series in India reaches a winner-takes-all climax. Good afternoon. With just hours to go until COVID restrictions start to lift in England, there is a fresh warning that the pandemic isn't over yet. From tomorrow, people will be able to meet outdoors in groups of up to 6, and outdoor sports facilities will also reopen. But with the new freedoms come new responsibilities. Today's senior figures in the NHS and in government warned us not to squander the gains we've worked so hard to achieve. Lucy Watson has the details.
The route towards normality is on course. The sights and sounds of what is familiar and fun are coming back, and businesses are feeling relieved.
Excited. It's good to get back and get out and fresh air. Fully booked from 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. The weather's supposed to be good, so very happy.
Tomorrow signals the easing of lockdown 3. It means people can meet outside in groups of up to 6 again. Weddings can happen with up to 6 people attending. Organised outdoor sports can restart, and outdoor sports facilities like tennis courts, golf courses and swimming pools will reopen. Freedom is fast approaching, and the vaccine rollout is soon to hit the 30 million mark. And also the R rate is still below 1, but that did increase ever so slightly last week, showing that there's no room for complacency. We are, of course, being urged to act cautiously because coronavirus rates in Europe have started to increase.
It is just the beginning, so it's essential that people stick to the rules. So you can meet friends and family outside as long as you abide by the rule of 6 or 2 households. You can engage in the outdoor sports, and I'd encourage people to do that because it's so good for our health. But don't push the rules, stick by the rules.
When we've done that,
preparations are underway ahead of the most meaningful change to personal liberties in 3 months. There is a sense things must go right this time.
If everybody's still socially distancing and being sensible, then I'm just really excited to start living life again.
I think life has changed. I think we'll all have to be a bit more careful, and I'm guessing social distancing.
Life has changed and we are moving forwards, but gently. Lucy Watson, ITV News, Welwyn Garden City.
Well, our political reporter Hannah Miller is here. So, Hannah, a long way to go to vaccinate everyone, but how is the government looking to keep the rollout on track?
Well, broadly, it is still on track with the inevitable highs and lows along the way. Those ups and downs, in fact, perfectly illustrated by that good news today that ministers are hoping that the first doses of the new Moderna vaccine will be getting into arms in April in the next few weeks. But that comes at the same time that there is ongoing concern about delays to the supply of the AstraZeneca vaccine. There are also reports today that ministers are in discussions about whether or not to start sending some vaccine supplies to the Republic of Ireland. It's thought that could help with the easing of lockdown in Northern Ireland, but it would create some tensions with the EU. The official line from the government is that for now there simply isn't any surplus vaccine to start sharing, but they will look to help friends and neighbours when the time comes.
All right, Hannah, thank you. The country's largest bereavement charity has reported a huge rise in calls brought about by the pandemic. Cruise Bereavement Care says it has seen a 68% increase in the number of people asking for help. As Rebecca Barry reports, social restrictions have left many loved ones alone and isolated.
Two women, strangers, yet now united in their grief. We brought them together to talk about their shared trauma.
There was nothing we could do for him, nothing. And he cried like a baby.
Zahara's husband, Sahel, died in October. He was 49 and leaves two teenage children.
He was then put into an induced coma. And anyway, he was in the coma for maybe a week. We were allowed to go in and see him and say our goodbyes to him.
Vicky's husband, Kevin, died almost a year ago. He was 47.
He called me from hospital saying that, he weren't going to make it. But Kevin he joked all the time. So I thought at the start he was joking. It just didn't feel real, it was so fast. It went from him being taken in an ambulance on the Thursday to Friday been gone.
The bereavement charity Cruise saw an enormous 68% rise in calls for help last year, pain and shock exacerbated by lockdown.
When you've lost someone, you just want a hug. I think you just want to fall into somebody and hug them, don't you? And we haven't been able to have that, have we yet?
People are really willing to help you. They are. Don't close yourself from it. You need to just reach out.
Accept the help.
Yeah.
Each life lost to COVID leaves a web of suffering. Perhaps there's some comfort that they're not alone. Rebecca Barry, ITV News.
And if you'd like details of the help and support available to people who are grieving, head to our website, itv.com/news. Protesters in Myanmar defiantly took to the streets again today. Despite yesterday's bloodshed, more than 100 unarmed civilians, including children, were killed by the country's security forces as people gathered to demonstrate against the military takeover. Well, it's drawn global outrage, with the UN Secretary-General leading the condemnation. Paul Davis reports.
Despite all attempts at bloody suppression, the anti-coup protesters were back on the streets this morning. This act of defiance particularly brave, as the streets of Yangon, where they're marching, were the scene of slaughter yesterday. Ignoring the growing clamour of protests from around the world, the Myanmar military again turned its guns on its own people. Facing live rounds, the demonstrators only had stones to reply. One launched a firework. It was a futile gesture on a dark day for democracy. There is only ever going to be one winner when civilians armed only with gestures come up against troops prepared to use lethal force. With similar unarmed protest put down with similar ruthlessness in major cities like Mandalay, the death toll ran into 3 figures.
It bears repeating that these aren't just protesters being killed, it's bystanders. There was even a child shot dead in their home the other day. So this is a military operating with total impunity. It's just absolutely unacceptable.
It's not only on the streets brave people are taking risks to speak out against the military. Han Lei, Miss Myanmar, used a beauty pageant to do the same.
Today, in my country, Myanmar, why I'm doing speak on this day, there are so many people dying, more than 100 people dying today.
One of those who died was Ma Shui Mint, a mother of 4 shot dead yesterday. Today at her funeral there were tears, but there was also defiance. Mourners raising their hands in the 3-finger salute that's become the symbol of opposition to Myanmar's generals. Paul Davis, ITV News.
Well, there's been some progress made to dislodge a giant container ship stuck in Egypt's Suez Canal. The Ever Given has been wedged across one of the world's busiest trade routes since Tuesday. Strong tides and winds have complicated salvage efforts, but tugboats have managed to move it 30 degrees. And police are investigating after Wales footballers Ben Cabango and Mabi Matondo were racially abused on social media. Both received abusive messages on Instagram after Wales's 1-0 win over Mexico last night. The Football Association of Wales says it is disgusted by the abuse. Finally to cricket, where England face an uphill struggle against India in their one-day international series decider. The tourists are 6 down in pursuit of India's 329. Chris Scudder has the latest.
One last chance for England to win a series in India, and the world's best one-day team wanted to prove it. But single-handedly, Rishabh Pant threatened to hit India out of reach. England, though, took key wickets at key moments, and when Pant was out to a brilliant Jos Buttler catch, India's progress stalled. Hardik Pandya looked dangerous till he went for 64, and India lost their last 4 wickets for 8 runs, 329 all out. In reply, Jason Roy hit 14 off the first 5 balls, but didn't see out the first over. Bairstow went for 1, and Ben Stokes had a life. Pandya dropped the simplest of catches.
That is an unbelievable moment.
Nobody could quite believe it. But Stokes' luck ran out. A high full toss hit straight into safer hands. And after Liam Livingstone was also out to a full toss, England's hopes began to fade when David Malan was out for exactly 50. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
And that is it for now. I'm back with the late news at 10. Until then, enjoy your afternoon. Bye-bye.